capital market now. So reviewed the market last week, the second trading week of the year. The NGX All Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 1.37% to close the week at 44,454.67 basis points. That's the new reading, while the market capitalization is at 23.95 trillion naira respectively. A total of turnover of 1.6 billion shares worth about 32.7 billion in about 22,607 deals were traded in the week by investors on the floor of the exchange in contracts to a total of 2.02 billion shares valued at about 59.0 billion exchange hands last week. Okay, so if you take a look at the top gainers of the financial services industry measured by volume, led by the activity chart with about 731.2 million shares, which was valued at 6.5 billion, traded in about 10,822 deals, contributing about 45.71% and 19.92% to the total equity turnover, volume and value respectively. So if you take a look at the gainers for the week, Bua Food is there, Transcorp, Jais Bank, fixing in the healthcare sector and academy, they're all there. So if you look at the stock of Bua, which opened for the week around 53 naira 20 kobo, closing at the end of the week at 66 naira. So you are looking at about 12 naira 80 kobo gain alone in the week. That's about 24.06% in the week alone. Transcorp is trailing behind in that regard with about 16.13%. Jais Bank is number 3 there on top of the top gainers for the week with 15.25% gain at the end of the week. You have Fixing there, you have Academy Prels PLC there with about 10 naira gain at the end of the week. But let's look at the top decliners for the week now. On the flip side, you have Shino Assurance PLC, you have Mutual Benefit, you also have Beja Paint in that category. Float Mills Nigeria is there, Custodian is there. Mutual Benefit lost about 12.90% there, and you have Float Mills losing about 70 kobo at the end of the week, while you have Julius Beja Paint, I beg your pardon, losing about 85 kobo. That's about 9.94% respectively. Well, of course, it's earnings are still trickling in. If you take a look at the earnings last week, they're all they're trickling in as about more than 6 companies released their earning with very payable dividend there. But let's get to talk about the market now and look at what drove the market last week. Mr. Ambrose Amodian, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting Limited, is here with me. Thank you for joining me on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, you've seen the report. Of course, the market went up as high as 1.37%. What would you say was responsible for the positives? Would I say, okay, perhaps a mixed reactions in the market we saw last week, because the first week was positive. We saw, positivity dominating the market, and then we came back in the second week. It was all a mixed market.
Yeah, actually, what happened last week that investors are expected to take profit. And I've repeated in this program, even elsewhere, that in any market, there's free entry and free exit. And if you have made profit, there's nothing holds you. If you keep, or you can set or take your profit, and that what happened last week. We know that the first trading week of the year was positive all through. Market return about 2.66 for the first week, and at the same time in the second week, market return about 1.37. Tell you that the whole market has almost about 4%. Then investors are about to take profit, and what we saw last week was just a missed trend that people took profit from some of their positions that have rallied within the period, and it's expected. And also, as we are looking ahead to see the earnings season, like as you just said, the numbers we just want to discuss are third quarter's results that were released not recently, as at October through November. For you as an investor to know, as we're expecting the earnings season to kick off from any moment from now, those figures that we're going to discuss, which is the third quarter, has given you an insight what you should expect from this company. After we have seen the third quarter performance and the full last year of 2020 of this company, especially seeing that the positive sentiment in the oil sector, how it's going to play on what to discuss, because there is what we call economic fundamental news or sectoral fundamental that will impact price, whether there is earnings or no earnings. If we are seeing those positive economic or sectoral news or industrial news that's going to impact on equities, you need to take advantage of it, because every investment is against expectation. If we're expecting that government is going to relieve a subsidy, and that's also going to influence positive on those companies in that sector, you don't wait to see if they remove the subsidy before you jump into the stock. That means you make every investment against the future. That's why if you are seeing positive for economic fundamentals or news on a sector or industry, it's also in addition to your earnings and also your technical position will tell you whether it's the right time for you to jump into those positions. That's why today we're looking at the earnings from the oil and gas sector of the market. Now, we have seen the performance of the market as they said that, but for the decline stock that he mentioned, that stock that we are seeing is not flour mill, it's Northern Nigeria flour. Or flour mill is selling about 27 naira. 80 kobo.
Thank you for correcting me.
For that, as an investor, you should know that this is what will guide you. Not that flour mill pull back, it's opportunity for you to, because every month from now, we'll expect the flour mill result to be the market. But what was on the screen is not flour mill, just Northern Nigeria flour mill. So that you should know that flour mill has potential to take you where going. But we're expecting the third quarter. That means if you are seeing flour mill third quarter already, when it comes to the market, kind of give you a sense of direction whether you should position for their full year in March, because Q3 number in any market, any financial is very important, because it gives you an insight what you look at ahead of the fourth quarter.
Just before we get into looking at the oil sector third quarter earnings, positions, I want us to look at the movement of some of these stocks. Yes, BUA was among the top gainers of the week last week. Transcorp, you have Jais Bank and all of that. BUA closed gaining about 12 naira 80 kobo at the end of the week. That's about doing almost about 24 or 25% at the end of the week. Where is this stock headed?
No, this stock has enjoyed what we call market sentiment to this level, not because of the company performance. Being a new stock admitted to the NSE, that sentiment that this stock is not available. Also, if you look at the shareholding structure of BUA, it's still just on a few hands. I still call it a family business, because the shareholding is still within BUA family, and they're all. That's not really released to the public, but now they have come from offer, or we call it by introduction, they came to the market. We expect that going to the future, what ATN just did by selling some shares to the public, they might likely, because I'll tell you, the 100% of that company or 98% of the company is still 100% in one hand, man. That means anyone from now, once they make progress into the year, they might have to go, let's release 10%. They will still do, neither they do offer for sale or anything. But for now, I think the shareholding structure is still very, very tight, which is good. But the good thing is that we have not seen the number to support the price of BUA. But as an investor, if you have made almost 33% the previous week, also you have made another 24 points, that is almost 50% in less than 2 weeks. Nothing stops you for taking your profit. For me, it's time for you to just sell off and come back, because we have not seen their earnings. The one we saw is the one they used to kind of list the company. And also, I said it earlier that if you are preparing to marry a woman, when it's coming to meet you, you have to dress very well, because they are coming to list. They have just prepared that number and put it for us as investors to buy. For me, until we see the subsequent number of BUA, I can't say too much. But if you have made profit, good to take profit now.
Let's look at Transcorp, Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, the shares of Transcorp. Of course, again about 16 kobo last week, all through last week, doing about 16.3%. What is likely to be the sentiment towards, or the investor sentiment or appetite towards the shares of Transcorp?
Actually, if you look at anywhere in the world, a utility company is where investors want to play. Why? Because they make money on the activities. But here in Nigeria, because of the structure of our energy business, Transcorp is generating more than 2,000 megawatts, and Nigeria has about 4,000 megawatts. That means more of our generation is coming from Transcorp. And if everywhere is metered, especially where they're operating and they're getting their money, that company should know it's less than 10 naira, because they have access to cash. But this cash, because they're not metered, they're not paying them, they are generating to send to the national grid. For that, government is not owing them. Then you can see that they have good result on the paper, on their earnings, good numbers, but they don't have cash. That's why they are still paying such 1 kobo dividend, because they don't have much cash. But in terms of prospect, this company has prospect that, yes, if you're a long-term investor that want to wait, this is the time for you to buy into it. But I see that the stock was seeing volume now. There's a positive fundamental, positive technicals. You are seeing good volume, and price is going up. Or as at Friday, getting up at 19% gain for the last week. For me, it's a good work for Transcorp. And also a Kobo stock selling below 2 naira if you're a long-term investor, also you are investing for the future. This is
Right.
part of the growth stocks one can position because of the future. Because anywhere in the world, utility is where you are sure of the company making money. Because if they increase what you call the tariff to the high, people don't say because the high, let's stop using light. Light is essential. That means they can pass it to what? To the consumer. For me, transport to make good money, if you're a long-term investor, keep your position and take,
Well, okay. I mean, well, let's see how that goes in the coming days. But let's look at the third quarter earnings for the oil index. You have the likes of Total Energy, you have corn oil in Eternal, MRS oil is there, and Oando is there. I think Oando is their dividend. There is no dividend for Oando, and as well as MRS, there's no dividend. I can't see any dividend here on their data here. But of course, for the stock of Total Energy, their dividend is about 6 naira, 73 kobo. And if you look at the total turnover for that stock, that's about 242.2. So what can you say about that?
If you look at the oil sector, for me, as an investor, I've said earlier that you look at the fundamental news or prospect or economic news in that sector. Well, I've seen that, after the COVID-19 has kind of wreaked that industry in 2020, dropping as low as almost negative crude oil price. That all over the world it affected the oil and gas sector. But when the economy started recovering, you see they are the one that led the economy because economies are opening up again after the lockdown. The consumption for oil and all those stuff, because they want to hit up their manufacturing sector and all. You see the consumption was high, and that also what led that oil price has gone as high as almost 86 now, before oscillating between 80 and 83 now, which is good. And that's going to also influence our own sector here. Knowing that here, most Nigerians generate their light and they use fuel. And also, at the same time, we want also to hit up our industrial and sector, because as we speak now, I'll tell you, most of the companies that are running their big generator and all the stuff. That means there is demand for oil product. For me, we can see that it's also pregnant. And don't also forget that within the period, government has adjusted price of fuel for different times. That also will impact on their performance, because if they have stock and increase price, automatically they are making profit on what they have. That has reflected on this number we are seeing. You can see that last 2 years, Total was struggling. But 2021, Total has also come up again with good numbers, putting about 13 billion as a profit after tax for third quarter. That is what for Total. And also has paid into dividend for twice, almost 44 naira. For me, and also if you look at the figure on that sector, Total is one leading in terms of turnover, and also in terms of dividend yield. You can see that the dividends of Total is about almost 6 to 7% for dividend yield. For me, it's a good one, and that is why you need to look at that sector, look at the numbers and their yields, and also look at their the profit margin. And profit margin of that sector is very, very poor. I will tell you, because they have a lot of cost. That cost have eaten into their product, into their bottom line. That if you see, right, if you match the whole company there, if you match their profit after tax and their turnover, you see that there's a gross poor profit margin. I mean, it tells you that they are not efficient in terms of managing their costs, and that's a reflection of what the high capital they use for that business. For me, as an investor, if you are investing in this oil sector, careful. What you want to do is to make profit at a short time. Don't think of more dividend, because if a company profit margin is not too attractive, they don't pay you good dividend, don't have good high payout. For me, we can play this sector for capital appreciation. Then on your dividend angle, you have to be very careful. But I know that Total is consistent, good, and they also up their game in terms of payout. You can look at it. Also, Steplat have been consistent in terms of their quarterly dividend. And it's like Steplat also numbers are also improved tremendously within 2021. It tells you that this company also look at the result of Eternal Oil. Eternal Oil is a small player in that sector, but you can see that they are opening up branches here and there, and they are coming up. And also the acquisition that happened in Eternal Oil recently is also a good one for me. And if you look at Eternal Oil, their holding structure also have changed, just as tight as Total. So also see in Eternal Oil, I see potential. But for Oando is a major player in option and downstream, just like Steplat. But you can see Steplat in the road that is telling where they are going. But for Oando, for almost 3 years, we have not seen their numbers to know the position of the company. But you can see that looking at the chart, you can see that there's positive sentiment in terms of sentiment and technical tools. That tells you that people are still playing. Look at the volume going on in Oando, and also looking at the trend lines, see that stock is still strong technically. But fundamentally, it's just only the economic news, the sector you're operating or industry that will support the. But in terms of figure, the way they are going, there's no figure to guide investor. But I say all investment in one donor is more speculation because there's no data to guide, except we are playing on what? On technical and sentiment of the market.
Okay, let's look at how now you talk about the fact that the oil prices is rising. In the last 1 week, we've seen it rising from $81 to about $85 as at last Friday. How is this likely to impact some of the operations of these, stocks, and of course, the flow of equities into the stocks as well?
No,
on the index?
actually, if you look at what is happening in the sector, yes, we know that when price of crude oil is going up, it's going to impact in a different way. One, our national reserve is one. Then, if the price of crude oil continue to go up, importation cost to bring crude oil into Nigeria, we know that we import our final refined product here. That means the cost of landing will be high, and that will put the government even increase fuel price up.
That's right.
Now they are even planning to remove subsidy and other stuff. If price go up, these companies that we are saying now, they want to make money, because before the price will shoot up, they have a lot of inventory on their on their tank under the ground. That area are going to boost their earnings in terms of focus. And also, if there is also subsidy removal, I'll tell you that will not say you and I to stop using light. There will still be demand for their product. They will still make money on that. And also, the new bill that was passed that gives opportunity for them also to make money in that industry. In one word or the other.
Talking about the PIA.
Yeah. In that word, that's also another advantage for that sector. And I see that because, as we speak now, Nigeria has not planned about using electric fuel, electric motor as we speak now. Other countries, that means our consumption will still remain almost the same. That means, on that note, we expect these people to be in profit.
I would like you to take us through the chart for the week, but I would like to know, where is the money? Some of you talked about the consumer goods earlier. Where is the money going to? Which of the sector or index now is investor likely to look into in terms of investment or taking position?
Let's quickly,
because you have the consumer good, you have the oil index.
Let's quickly look at it. I will prefer us to quickly look at the industrial goods or industrial sector. Last week the sector gained about 3.5%. I'll tell you, because of the factorial gap, and also we're expecting that Dangote buyback will also continue this week. I see some sentiment in that sector, and also BUA will not rely. Now that BUA has made money, investors have made money in BUA food. I'm telling you, they're likely to look the way of BUA cement now, because that stock has pulled back the previous week, creating opportunity to buy low. I see that stock trading around the 68 as at market close on Friday. I'm not just stopping that this morning that stock will jump up, which I know that this morning it's also gained about almost 8 to 10% already, because investors have moved to BUA cement. And now, if you look at this is the industrial in the chart for the market, and good as a trader or investor, when I look at the chart, first of all, look at the chart on a daily time frame, weekly and monthly time, to give you exactly what is happening. For quick action, you can use your daily time frame to do what is happening, but for you to take decision, you have to look at your weekly chart and your monthly chart to give you an insight where the stock is going. Now, this is a daily chart, but let's quickly look at the weekly chart for this same industrial sector. You can see that it has already turned up here. Give you a sign that on a weekly chart, the index have reversed up. That means it's trading above what? Above its moving average, and moving average of 20%, 20 days moving average and 50 days moving average. This makes this sector a strong one to buy. And this is the weekly chart. You can see that already this is an uptrend again. And so when you see that your index action is above your trend line, automatically it's an uptrend. But the final one, you have to look at the monthly time frame for this index. Good. You can see here that this is what we call a reversal. You see this candlestick, it went down and also reversed up. The last one, then it's resisting what we call decline. Purely don't want to go down, because before the previous, you can see that it has a bearish window candlestick before trying to resist and go up. For this week, I see that this stock will go. If you come down and look at what we call the MACD is still on a bullish line. For me, the stock in that sector are where you should look at. And also the banking sector, as I said earlier, that these are the most consistent dividend paying sector. You also look at it. But I believe that the oil sector for capital appreciation is where you also should look at and trade, because I'm telling you, as from March, we start seeing those oil sector, most of them were surprised with their numbers. And if their numbers are good, in expectation of subsidy removal, I see that the sentiment will move to that sector, and that will also impact more on their price. For me, this is a time for you as an investor just to relax. Also, the outcome of MPC meeting next week. That means if you are taking a decision, if you have made money this week, you can adjust to like take some profit. We don't know the outcome of MPC meeting by next, but I've said
whether they will retain or probably review
for me,
it.
I don't see them removing as early as the first meeting. But that should also guide you as a trader or investor that when you take a decision, something that can alter the sentiment in the market is coming. If you leave it as it is, yes, good. But if they alter it, that will trigger funds flowing away from one market to the other. As an investor, this time to invest wisely because the market is there to create wealth for every one of us that are designed and investing with what knowledge and figure.